On this video, I would like to read the Greek and then a Hebrew translation by Delitzsch, which is in the public domain. Read the two languages and do a grammatical analysis with commentary as well. So we're picking up at chapter 6, verse 1 in the Greek. Kaedan hate anoixin ta oran mian ekton chepta fragidon kai ekusa chenas ekton tesaron zoon legantas hos phone brantes erku. That is, and I saw when the Lamb opened the first out of the seven seals, and I heard one of the four living creatures saying with a great voice, "Come." Adon, when I saw, is a aorist, and I saw, aorist indicative active, first person singular, from the root to see. So when I saw, when the Lamb opened from anoigo, aorist indicative active, third person singular, anoig sin. When the Lamb opened out of the seven seals, and I heard akusa is your aorist indicative active, first person singular, from akuo, one of the four living creatures saying, legantas is your present active participle, genitive masculine from lego, as the voice of thunder, saying, the voice of thunder, erku, come. In other words, I saw, and it was like the voice of thunder that I heard, and it was basically come. Now, as we look at the Hebrew text here, ve'ereka asher patach haseh echad men shiv'ah ha-chotamot. And after this, the Lamb opened, patach is the cow perfect, third masculine singular from patach, open one from the seven seals, and I heard, ve'eshma. Eshma is from shama, to hear. It's the cow imperfect, first person singular from shama. I heard one from the four living creatures speaking as a voice of thunder. Medaberet is from dabar. It is a PL participle, feminine singular from dabar. The mem followed by the a vowel and the shava under the mem, doubling of the middle radical in the bait, indicative of a PL participle. So, speaking as the voice of thunder, saying, lemor, a cow infinitive construct from amar, saying, bo, come and see. Two imperatives, bo, cow imperative masculine singular from bo, and ura'e from ra'ah, another cow imperative masculine singular. He said, I saw, and the Lamb, when he opened one of the seals, he hears a voice, and it's like thunder saying, come. And then notice verse 2, Kai Edan, and I saw, Kai Edu Hippas Lukas, and behold a white horse. kaicha kathemanos ep auton, and the one sitting upon it, ekon taxon, uh, was having a bow. Ha kathemanos is from kathemai. We're looking at a present participle uh, middle nominative singular from kathemi. So I saw one sitting upon it having a bow. Ekon is from the root echo, present uh, active participle nominative masculine singular, having a bow, and it was given to him a crown. Edase is from didomi, aorist indicative passive, third person singular from didomi. There was given to him a crown, and exeothen nekon, he came forth conquering. Exeothen is from exergamai, it's the aorist indicative active third person singular, and nekon is from nekao, present active participle nominative masculine singular from nekao, and in order that he might conquer. Nikese is from nikao, aorist subjunctive third person singular from nikao. And so he sees a white horse. And this all goes back to Zechariah and the horses that Zechariah talks about with chariots in Zechariah 1 and Zechariah 6. We see references back to that text that John is drawing from. And so, looking at the Hebrew then of the text, abid vehene sus levan, and I looked, and behold, a white horse. Abid is the Hiphil imperfect first common singular from nabat. On beat became beat. And with the AI vowel pattern, we're looking at a Hiphil imperfect stem. So, and I look, a vav turns it over. It's a vav hafek or a vav conversive. Behold a white horse, and the one riding upon it, the harochev from rachab to ride. We have the definite article in the ha, and rochev is a cow participle masculine singular. The one riding upon it had a bow, a keshet biyado, in his hand, and is given to him. Uh, Not only do we have the bow, but there was given to him, or he had a bow in his hand, and there was given to him an arrow, uh, having a bow. I'm sorry, a crown. Excuse me. There was given to him a crown, and the Hebrew then, as we read it, he had this bow in his hand, and there was given to him a crown. And the text goes on to say then, uh, or describe how he went forth conquering and to conquer. So as we read on, I saw, uh, and there was given to him a bow and also a crown, the Yetse Menatseach Ulema'an Yenatseach. And he went forth uh, conquering and in order that he might conquer or be successful. Menatseach is from Natsach. It's a PL participle masculine singular from Natsach with the Shavah doubling of the Tzadi, the middle radical. So he went forth conquering and in order that he might conquer. Yenatseach is the PL imperfect third masculine singular from Natsach. And so as we think about this white, uh, as we think about the white horse and the bow, just a couple interpretations that have been suggested. Some understand this to refer to any number of thoughts. Some apply it uh, to Christ, others apply it to a wide range of interpretation, not only Christ, but the whole idea of the white horse and the bow is suggesting one coming forth for victory. It is interesting. Uh, some see this period of time beginning a future tribulation period, where others believe that it's simply looking at the evil the church was facing at that time, and they would continue to face. And that is the Parthians were known to for their, can I say, use of the bow. And this could become a type of any type of evil or dictatorship, much like what the Parthians would illustrate or represent to John. I read a quote from Breaking the Code again, and it says the key to the meaning of this lies in the bow. It was the characteristic weapon of the mounted Parthian warriors, to whom also white was a sacred color. Parthia was a formidable neighbor on the eastern border of the Roman Empire. What is suggested here then is the Parthian invasion that meets with success. This is found on 58, page 58 of Metzger's Breaking the Code. So that's his idea as to what this is referring to. Others take it to be a reference to the Messiah, but that seems a little out of place to me, particular context, which is looking at the bad things that are happening in the world. So, at any rate, those are some of the ideas that have been championed or held by different interpreters. Uh, so, I'm quoting again, this is from another book, Linguistic Key to the Greek New Testament, where Roger writes, in the latter rabbinic writings, the coming of the Messiah was associated with the sight of a horse. And so again, some refer this to the coming of the Messiah. And the sufferings that happen are sufferings that would precede his coming. This is a referencing I'm making on page 826 of the book, The Linguistic Key to the Greek by Rogers. So then I move on to the next seal. Kai haten enoixen tain tragida tain deuteron. Ekusa tu deuteru zou legantes erku. And when he opened the second seal, I heard a second living creature saying, Come. Anoixen again is from anoigo, the aorist indicative active third person singular. When you put into the aorist, the gamma and the xi, or the sigma, changes to xi. So when he opened the second seal, I heard, akusa is the aorist indicative active first person singular from akuo. I heard of the second living creature saying, come. Erku is your present middle imperative from erkamai. And so as we look at the Hebrew then, um, I'm trying to, here we go, trying to get the Hebrew and the Greek, and I'm going into one text and then another text to back. So as we look at the Hebrew, uh, it says, and then as he opened, pitho et hachotam hasheni, as he opened the second seal, ve'eshma et hachaya hasheni, I heard the second living creature, Omer Bo, saying, come and see. Omeret is another participle, a cow participle, feminine singular from amar. And so, again, there is two imperatives following, bo, u, re, two cow imperatives, masculine singular, from bo and from ra. So come and see. And as we look at the next verse, then, verse 4, in the Greek again, it reads, Kai excelsen alas hippas puras, and another red horse came forth, Kai to kathemeno hepaltan edathe, and there was given to the one sitting upon it to take peace out of the earth. Lavein tain erenein ecteso ages, in order that they might kill, or they should kill, kaihena alelus, one another, svaksuk, svak, svaksusin kai adathe auto, makara magale. That is, that they will kill one another, and it was given to them a great sword. Here we're looking at war and bloodshed in this third um, seal, or the second seal that was open. Looking at the verse 4, then, exalthen is the aorist indicative act, third person singular from exergamai. And there was a puras, a red horse, and to the one who was sitting on it, kathemeno is your present middle participle dative singular from kathemai. It was given to him, adathe again is from didomi, aorist indicative passive third person singular from didomi, to take peace. Labain is from lambano, aorist active infinitive from lambano, to take peace out of the earth. And in order that they will kill one another, sphaksusin is your future indicative active third persons plural from sphago. And it was given to him a makara magale. Adathe again is your aorist indicative passive third person singular from didomi. So then, uh, one thought that we need to say here, as we look at the Greek, the sword that was given, uh, it is interesting when I was reading in the book by Rogers, Linguistic Key to the Greek New Testament. The Makara, this was the short Roman sword and is symbolic of violent death, war, and the power of the authorities to punish evildoers. And Rogers is quoting from Mounts and Ford on page 826. So this second seal is looking at the violence of what most commentators agree the picture of war and violence. Then, as I look at the Hebrew, Vayetze Susheni Vahu Adom, that is, and there came forth a horse, a red, and behold, it was red. There came forth a horse, the second horse, and it was Adom, or it was red, and Velarochev alav, and to the one riding upon it, Nitan Lasate, that is, was given. Nitan is your um, Nifal, perfect, third masculine singular from Natan. Lasate is from Nasa. It is the infinitive, infinitive construct from Nasa to was given to it to lift up or to take peace from the earth. Hashalom min ha'aretz lema'an yahargu, and to kill ish et achiv, that is, each his brother. What a tragic picture. And that the Hebrew as well is picturing here. Yaharku is the cow imperfect third common or masculine plural from harag. Each his brother, v'tinaten lo cherab gedolah, and the dailies just put a large sword, cherab gedolah, and tinaten that was given to him is from the root natan. It's the nifal imperfect third feminine singular from natan. So it was given to him a large sword, Herab Gedolah. So the second horse is is picturing war and violence and bloodshed. And certainly, as we look at church history, as we look at the history of the world since the time that John wrote, and as we look at today and even into the future, he's describing what has been characteristic, tragically so, of humankind. Not only the picture of the Parthians, picturing again violence and cruelty that would be brought upon Rome, becoming a type of the world system itself, but then the violence of bloodshed, of war, of the violence that follows in the red horse. And so he's picturing, probably, it seems, a history of humankind. And it continues to get worse and seems to then climax itself right before the second coming of Jesus or the return of Christ. Then we move on to the next seal that's open, the third. Kaihate enoixin tain sfragida tain tritain ekusa tu tritu zou legantas erku kai edan kai edu hippas melas kai ha kathemanas ep altan echon sugon in te keri al 2. And when he opened the third seal, I heard the third of the third living creature saying, Come. And I saw, and behold, a black horse. And the one sitting upon it had a scale in his hand. And I heard the voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, A quart of wheat for a denarius, and three quarts of barley for a denarius, but do not hurt the oil and the wine. So as we look at the grammar, and when he opened, anoixin again, anoixin is the aorist indicative active third person singular from anoigo. When he opened the third seal, I heard akusa again from akuo, aorist indicative active first person singular from akuo, of the third living creature saying, legantos again is your present participle active genitive singular from lego, masculine. Come, here we have another imperative, a middle present middle imperative from erkamai. Come and I saw. Harao, here again we have the aorist indicative active third person or first person singular. I saw, and behold, a black horse. And now we're looking at what appears to be a famine. The result of war and violence is famine. I saw a black horse, and the one set upon it, kathemenos, is your present participle, uh, masculine, singular, middle participle from kathemai, and the one setting upon it having a scale, echon, is from echo, again, your present participle, nominative, masculine, singular, in his hand. So he is setting with a balance, we could say, a balance in his hand. Sort of the old scales where you'd balance one side and the other. And I heard akusa is your aorist indicative active first person singular from akuo. I heard as the voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying. Here again, legusan is your participle, your aorist participle legusan, or your present participle, I should say, present participle accusative uh, plural from Lego. Uh, so I heard saying a quart of wheat for denarius, denariu, and three quarts of barley, koinikos krithon, denariu, for denarius, but do not hurt kaita ela elaan kaitan oinan me adekese, but do not hurt the wine and the oil. Adekese is from adekeo, the aorist subjunctive, second person singular from adekeo. So, as we think about this, it is interesting that we look at what appears to be famine condition. I was just, again, thinking about what the text seems to be saying famine following the red horse. And the coinix is like a quart. It was a dry, can I say, measure. And of this, when you think about for a denarius, we're looking at a day's wage. This was a Roman silver coin equivalent to 1 day's wages. This indicated that enough wheat to feed one man for one day cost a full day's wage. So the cost of wheat here is 5 to 12 times its normal price, showing famine being indicated. And this, by the way, is a reference I'm making to the linguistic key from the linguistic key to the Greek New Testament by Rogers on page 826. So talk about inflation. This is a picture of it. And barley, really more of the food that poor people would eat. But even that, all of that is going to take a full day's wage. Think about the cost, 5 to 12 times what it normally would be. So we're seeing this constant picture of inflation, of costs going up, and that's the result of the violence that humans bring upon society and upon one another in violence and in the red horse, the picture of war and violence. What follows then is basically more the black horse or famine conditions. And I look at the Hebrew and it reads, Uchepitcho et ha-chotam hashlishi. And when he opens the third seal, Ve'eshma et ha-chaya ha-shelishi. And then I heard the third living creature, Omeret. Eshma, by the way, is the cow imperfect first common singular from Shama with the Vav Hafik or the Vav conversive. I heard saying, Omeret from Amar, a cow participle feminine singular from Amar. Bo, come, ure, come. And here we have a cow imperative in both of these, bo and ra'ah, as we've been seeing, and I will show you. Vehabit is the Hifil imperfect first common singular from Nabat, a Peinun verb. I will show you, and behold, a Shachor, a black horse. Again, picturing famine. V'harochev alav moznayim beyado. The one writing upon it with scales in his hand. Um, Harochev is the cow participle masculine singular from Rachav with the definite article. Ve'eshma kol mitoch arba ha-chayot, and I heard the voice from the midst of the four living creatures saying, uh, Kav, Hitim, Bedina, Ushelusha, Kabim, Set, Set Orim, Bedina. That would be a pretty close rendering of the Greek, a quart of wheat for a denarius, and then 3 quarts of barley for a denarius. So again, we see a very close, uh, can I say, a kav ha-chitim, a quart of wheat, the dinar for denarius, and 3 quarts, shalusha kabim, 3 quarts of barley, se'orim, bedina, for a denarius. So the Hebrew follows the Greek in translation very clearly here. Ve'et hashemen v'hachayim al tashchet, but do not destroy the wine or the oil and the wine. Tashchet is the hifil um, imperfect second masculine singular from shachat. So do not destroy the wine or the oil or the wine. I honestly don't know what what that means exactly is that maybe the main food that you need is the inflation is so high because of famine, but the wine and the oil seems to be left untouched. Uh, so I'm not exactly sure what that actually means. So let me go on to uh, the next uh, opening of the seal, and that would take us then to the fourth, and that is in the next verses that follow. Verse 7 reads, Kai hate enoixin tain svagida tain uh, ta tetartain ekusa phonein tu tetartu zou legon tas erku. And when he opened then the the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature saying, Come. Again, anoixin is from anoigo, as we've seen, aorist indicative active, third person singular, from anoigo. So I heard the voice of the fourth living creature saying, again, the genitive participle, legon test, present active participle, genitive, singular from lego, come, erku, the again imperative again, present middle participle imperative. And I saw, kai edon, kai edu, hippas gloras, kai ha kathemenas apano, autu, anima auto ha thanatas kai ha hades, a kaluthe, a kaluthe met autu, kai edathe autois, exousia epi uh, ta tetartan tes gaze a paktenai in theai, kai in lemo, kai in thanato, kai hupaton, therion tes gaze. That is, and when he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature saying, Come. And I saw, again, aorist indicative active, third person singular from charao, I saw, and behold, a chloros, which would be like a pale horse. Chloros, I saw a pale horse. And the one setting upon it, its name was Death and Hades. Notice the pale horse is a picture of death, the result of the violence of war and bloodshed in the second one we looked at, the second seal, then famine, and now death. Death and Hades. Hades is meaning, again, death. Another way of saying death in the Greek, I believe. Uh, Death and Hades, a kaluthe from akalutheo, was following with him. That is, death and Hades itself was then following with a horse and horseman, this pale horse. And notice here, akaluthe is the imperfect indicative active third person singular from akalutheo, was following, and there was given to them those two, that is, death and Hades, to take over a fourth of the earth, authority over a fourth of the earth. Edathe is your aorist indicative passive from singular from didomi. So they were given authority over a fourth of the earth, apaktenai, to kill with sword. Apaktenai is the aorist active infinitive to apakteno, to kill with sword and with famine and with death and by the wild beasts of the field. In other words, after the sword came famine and then pestilence leading to death, and then the beasts of the field would be pretty much what was left, I think, and a fourth of the earth is destroyed. It seems that the text is saying here. And so, as I look at the Hebrew, it says, "U hepitho et hachotam," and when he opened, as he opened. By the way, pitcho is your cow infinitive uh, uh, construct from patach, and as he opened with the pronominal suffix third masculine singular in the o. When he opened the fourth seal, then Eshma, I heard, Eta Chaya Ha-Revi'it Omeret Bo Ure'eh. The same thing. Then I heard the fourth living creature saying, Eshma from Shama, the cow imperfect, first common singular from Shama, and I heard the fourth living creature saying, Omer is your cow participle feminine singular from Amar. Bo ure, come and see. Be'ere bechene sus ye rak. And I saw and behold, and I'm translating this, I think, a pale horse, Yirak rak, from the Greek. Erev from Ra'ah, cow imperfect, first common singular. I saw a pale horse, and the rider upon it, the Harochev Alav, the one riding upon it, his name was Hamavet, death, U Sha'ol, and Sha'ol, way of speaking of death, Yotzeit Leraglav, was coming at his feet, was coming forth at his feet. In other words, death and Sheol following, or Sheol following, uh, can I say, death. And Vayinatain, and there was given him Shaltan, Shalatan, or Shal, Revi'it Ha'arif. There was given to him a fourth, um, there was given to him, I should say, authority over a fourth of the earth. Lahamit, to kill with sword, Bacherem. Lahamit is from the cow or the Hiphil infinitive construct from Mot, to kill with sword, and Uverahav, and to kill with sword and with hunger, uh, u vadever, and with pestilence. Uh, Interesting, just looking at the Greek that we had read, uh, there was given to him uh, to, one second here, I'm just going back to, yeah, and with death. It's interesting. It looks to me like Delitzsch had rendered that with pestilence, uh, to kill with sword and with famine, uvedever, and with pestilence, uvechayat ha'aretz, and with the wild beasts of the field, uvechayat So what we're looking at here in this fourth seal is that final, can I say, result of the second. Well, really, the first, second, and third. The first is like the Parthian. If we follow that idea, uh, the Parthians commenced Rome and becoming a picture of the evil of, of, of kingdoms throughout world history, and then and what they do to each other. And then the red horse, that of war, and then the black horse, famine, and then finally the pale horse, speaking of death. Uh, I was thinking as I was going through this of what I had read in the book Breaking the Code, and a little bit about what Metzger, some of his comments that he makes. Uh, he says, and I'm reading, by the way, on page 58 and 59 of Metzger's Breaking the Code, and I'm quoting: "So the four horsemen of the apocalypse are brilliant little vignettes of God's judgments working out in history. This is what happens in the sphere of politics whenever men and women oppose the will of God, and this in the military sphere, that would be the red horse, and this in the sphere of economics would be the third, looking at the black horse. There are few chapters in Revelation that speak more directly to our time than this part of chapter 6. In books, in newspapers, in magazine articles, and in radio broadcasts, we read and hear about the four horsemen of the apocalypse who are riding across the earth today. We hear the cry for justice. We sense that there must be a judgment in which the guilty will not be able to escape. And that will lead then to the sixth seal, where even those who are perpetrating all these things will call upon the rocks to hide them from the Lamb and from Christ as he comes to judge. And so, having read that, some scholars apply this to the future tribulation period. Others say this is a picture of what human history has been about since the time of John's writing up to today's future. And others say then that as we look at these two, that Rome is a type of the world system, that these things are happening in the world and in the system of the world. Again, different interpreters say different things. But when you look at this, you have to say, what does this mean to a first century audience and to a first century reader going through the emperor worship of Domitian? It seems that it must be looking at how these things were beginning to happen at that time, but how that the writer is encouraging the church that all of this will find its final fulfillment in the coming of the Lamb someday, in the sixth seal, in the final judgment. And so as we read this, we're seeing little vignettes as to what world history is about if you take it with that viewpoint. And things seem to get worse as time goes on. And we're looking then at the final wrap up in which we'll return. And in that sixth seal, following the martyrdom of the fifth seal, we'll see that all will be calling upon the rocks and everything to hide them from the face of the Lamb and what is going to happen when he returns. So I just want to stop. Uh, like I said, scholars differ in their interpretation. Uh, some want to apply this to a yet future period. Others say this is what's going on through history. And it gets worse and what we are experiencing even in the present time. But we look forward to the return of Christ and the final day when he comes back. And so there's the fifth seal yet, and then there is the sixth seal, and then that will open to the seven uh, trumpet judgments. So let me just stop there. I hope this is some help in looking at the Greek text. And I'm not trying to take one interpretation. I think ministers ought to present a variety of interpretations and let the reader decide what he or she feels the text is saying. And like I said, some apply this to a yet tribulation period. Others say this is looking at what has happened through the history of mankind from the time that John wrote it until the end of time. And that these things keep going on, but they get worse and they finalize in the final coming of Christ, which will be in the final seal, the sixth seal. And then the trumpets will repeat some of this, looking at the plagues of Egypt as a sort of a type of what's going on, but it'll be a repetition. And then the bowls continue, except things seem to get more intense. So let me stop there, and I hope this helps somebody. I'm wrestling through the Greek and the Hebrew, uh, as well as trying to say what are the different ways that different scholars have understood different parts of Revelation. I remember one gentleman telling me the Greek is not that hard. I can read the Greek, and that is true. This is not a heavy, difficult Greek. It's not like reading Plato's Greek or Homer's Greek. However, what is difficult is the interpretation. And scholars differ, and I'm of the opinion that ministers, rather than just going with one interpretation, ought to lay out how scholars have with these different chapters, these different texts, and allow people to read it with an open mind, looking at a variety of possibilities and what each person then feels that the text is saying. Thank you. I hope this is helping somebody.